process. So among these are experience, deposit, concept fit, obviously appropriate category. I mention this simply because we have had situations where we might request a bid for, let's say, a fresh sandwich and salad concept, and we end up getting a bid for pretzels. So, you know, pay attention obviously to what the category is and make sure that it's what we're looking for. And then, of course, the all-important rental income. Weighted scoring concept is going to be probably the #1 heaviest weighted portion. We don't have the exact weightings down yet, but we will be getting that ironed out very soon. Experience, rental income again to the airport, your financial strength, which is going to be composed of your payment history, credit scores, as well as debt to equity ratios, and then ACDBE participation. Going on to the selection process, the time frames that we're looking at right now, late August to September, is going to be the actual release of the RFP as we anticipate it currently. There's always can be some sort of a potential unseen glitch, but right now that's where we're tracking. Approximately 3 weeks after the release of the RFP, we anticipate doing a pre-proposal conference as well as a design and build-out conference. Then about 4 to 5 weeks after that, the proposals will be due, and the entire process from release until actual board approval will be approximately 5.5 months. We, again, anticipate it being an August, September timeframe, and the RFP itself will be posted on the hyperlink that you see there, the dfwairport.com/concessions. And again, this presentation will be on the website. It's also just, I think Ron kind of touched on a lot of these things, but it's really important for everyone who bids to read the lease terms. We're going to have an actual lease exhibit attached and available for you to read, so it's really important that you read that and don't rely on any kind of assumptions or past information that may have been applicable. A couple of other key notes. A bond or a letter of credit is going to be required that's going to be equal to 25% of your minimum annual guarantee on the lease. So, of course, if your minimum annual guarantee is $200,000, you're going to be expected to produce a $50,000 bond or a letter of credit. Your RFP deposit dollars can be applied to that. Like Ron had mentioned, we will have a deposit requirement. That exact dollar figure has not been determined yet, but we would not anticipate it being less than $10,000. Your ACDBE relationship, if applicable, is going to be expected to be solidified in the form of a signed letter of intent and a draft copy of the joint venture agreement prior to the selection of the winning bidders. And an ACDBE relationship is expected to be fully consummated within 30 days after awarding the contract. This is very critical. We have had situations in the past where things did not materialize as anticipated, and sometimes that ACDBE relationship can be the difference between whether you win or not. Wanted to give you some visual examples of some winning RFPs from back when we did Terminal D. In this particular case, we've got La Bodega Winery as well as Natalie's Candy Bar. And we're contrasting the two because on the one on the right is a little more simple, a more fundamental approach, but it's every bit as good as the La Bodega one, which was a little bit more elaborate. Both were great. And this one, Cousins Barbecue, which is a local brand, they gave us some very good examples of their operations. And here's how they did it. There's a diagram of their proposed location. If you've been in Terminal D, you know that looks very much like what they actually have out there, and they gave us some photos of their existing locations. They also provided, this is particularly important, someone who's proposing a local brand or regional brand to provide us some examples of media recognition. They did a great job with this. This is, again, La Bodega. And then here is Cousins Barbecue, some of their media. And I'd like to clarify something the gentleman asked a minute ago about the percentage of national brands versus local brands. You know, there are a lot of national brands based in Dallas, and I didn't include those as being regional, being local. For example, Chili's, Bennigan's, Yum Brands, which is Pizza Hut, Taco Bell. Those are all based here, But they're also national brands, and I included those in my figures as far as national brands, just to clarify that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne Cruz, who is our Assistant Vice President of Business Diversity and Development. 3 years. 3 years. Oh, certainly, certainly. We need you to repeat the question.
Hi, the question was how much experience do you need to have in order for a proposal to be considered?
And the answer is still 3 years.
How about now? Is it still 3 years?
Yes.
Okay, just checking. Good afternoon. I'm Suzanne Cruz-Sewell, Assistant Vice President for Business Diversity. Normally, Don O'Bannon, our Vice President, is here making this presentation, but I'm happy to say he's chairing or enjoying his new chairmanship or sequel chairmanship of the Airport Minority Advisory Council in New Orleans today. So hopefully he'll be back, and we have 2 more years of great leadership with that organization. I'm here to provide you a very brief overview. How many of you, if you could give me a show of hands, have participated in the last 2 outreach conferences? Come on, be proud. Okay. For those of you that participated, Don gave a very detailed overview of the ACDBE program. And so I would encourage you to go back to the website that they've referenced earlier, and that you look through the PowerPoints, you look at the ACDBE section, follow up with our department if you have any additional questions or need clarifications. I will briefly highlight some of the key components of not only the ACDBE program, but how it's being incorporated as part of the evaluation criteria. But in looking back at the PowerPoints that Don did, he provided great detail, and it's very important information that you need to read. The ACDBE program covers participation of disadvantaged business enterprise firms who are participating in airport concessions. These are federal regulations that are imposed on us because DFW Airport receives Airport Improvement Program funding, in other words, federal funding, and so we are required to comply with not only the DBE program for construction, but also DBEs that are participating in airport concessions. The definition of an ACDBE, for those of you who may not know, is a for-profit small business, and the definition of the small business is defined by SBA, and it does have a certification standard associated with that. A small business that is at least 51% owned by an individual or more individuals who are both socially and economically disadvantaged. This is different from the MWBE program, which is Minority Women-Owned Business Enterprise Program. That program is based on ethnicity and gender. The DBE program is based on socially and economic disadvantaged factors. So we're looking at one scenario where 51% of the 1 or more individuals are both socially and economically disadvantaged. In the case of a corporation, 51% of the stock would be owned by these individuals. The other key factor in an ACDBE is the management piece, and we're looking that the management include business operations and that there be some type of control also by the ACDBE in order to get deemed an ACDBE organization. So, did I do that? Oh, playing tricks on me. So the FAA, through their regulations, has outlined a process for us to come up with a goal. And the goal that has been proposed for this concessions RFP is 35%, very similar to the RFP that was issued back when we did Terminal D and the Skylink construction. Again, because this is a federally regulated program, we are required to monitor it. There is a huge compliance piece in terms of our department being responsible in making sure that if you come to the table with the ACDBE